ask you a lot of questions, mostly starting from your childhood, because childhood is a big deal. And by doing so, I can start to identify some items that might be problematic, based on how things occurred. And then kind of work your way toward like your teenage years and then early adulthood and stuff like that. So the first phase is to go as deep as possible to really understand you as a person, like your nature, kind of like get a sense of like your baseline, right?
Mhm.
And then get a sense of, okay, what could have been a disturbance? What could have been a cause of any kind of traumatic reaction? Like some people, like especially at a young age, they would shut down and retract into a safe place, right? And that safe place, quote unquote, right, becomes a trap. Basically, trauma changes your perception of the world, right? So it could be something that went on for years, something that just happened in a moment, and people just retract, right? So they'll function, they'll be active. Some actually manage to be very outgoing and, bubbly personalities, but subconsciously, they're still living in that hiding space where if you don't get to the bottom of it, you think you're dealing with one person, but in reality, you're dealing with a completely different entity, right? Like we talked about with the proxy.
Mhm.
So I think the goal would be to go in and get a sense of where is your hiding place? Everybody has a hiding place, right? Some people hide in work. Some people travel constantly. Some people get involved in the community. Some people do church work. Um, and the list goes on and on and on. But you don't realize that's your hiding place, right? So we need to get to the bottom of where the hiding place is. What made you go into the hiding place? And is it beneficial to you? Because some hiding places may end up, you know, giving you an amazing career, right? If you if your hiding place is to work, you become a millionaire,
Mhm.
right? We're not trying to burn crosses and chase demons. It's just a matter of really understanding how it happened and your process, the process that you somehow consciously or subconsciously, the process that you invented for yourself to kind of work yourself through all these issues. So if we follow the process correctly, then we will know, because as your, development, like your natural development, right, is supposed to follow a course, like from being a child, like a toddler, to being like a 4 or 5 year old to a 7 year old, 8 year old. There's a natural progression to your growth, your mental growth, your emotional growth. But then if there's severe trauma involved, then that natural process can be disrupted, redirected somehow, or maybe fragmented, right? Which makes things complicated. But then you have to look at it and literally go through the pieces and see, okay, this maybe these aspects of my personality all stem from this event or this period in my life that I had to be, or I was exposed to certain things during an
Mhm.
extended period of time. Um, The challenge with people is that there are places that you have not gone to for a long time, and rightfully so. It's not a pleasant, these are not pleasant memories. These are not places that you want to go back to. So by retracing these steps, this is why I was telling you, just to be kind of aware of the energy and the mood and the emotions of it. By retracing your steps, even if it's just a casual conversation, that can cause some major disturbances in your daily life. Just going through your day, you just can't pretend anymore, right? So now you thinking about it, you're driving, you're dealing with people, you're working. So if you're not prepared for that, that can throw you off a little bit.
Mm.
And that tends to scare people. Like I said, it starts with the casual conversation, and then we bring up certain things, and it's like, oh wow, okay, I was not prepared to go there. And then all of a sudden things start to, bubble up to the surface. We can be having a conversation and I'll ask, like, what's your first memory in life? Like, what's the first thing you remember in your life? Some people may say, oh yeah, we went to the beach in Sarasota and I remember my parents were running and my little brother and all that stuff. It's like, okay, cool. But then for some people, that first memory is just, you just opened up a can of worms, right? Um, like I've had conversation where just the mention of a first memory took the person a few seconds, and it's like, and then she started crying,
Mhm.
right? And then turns out that very moment was cause of her having PTSD. So she's had PTSD her whole entire life, or as far as she can remember, because that was her first memory of life was domestic violence, with her parents. So it's stuff like that. You never know what might trigger someone. You never know where the real issues lie. For example, like you can, as a child, you may have looked at a situation very casually, like for example, most kids did not know they were being abused until much later in life.
Mhm.
So as a child, it did not register as abuse, right? It was like, oh yeah, we were playing these
Mhm.
fun games. And then it was like, wait a minute, this feels a little different. And then later on in life, you start to understand what it is. So in cases like that, like if we want to go back and look at it as a child, it's like the child may not have recognized certain things as trauma or as abuse or, So this is why you kind of have to follow the process um,
Mhm.
quite precisely so that it's not like we're attacking anything really. It's not like you have like a spear gun and you looking around to
Mhm.
shoot anything down. I think it's just a matter of understanding the person on a deeper level, right? And it's all the combination of everything that we've gone through in life that we didn't really have the tools to understand, okay, this is a strong emotion, this is trauma, this is based on fear, but this type of fear, this is based on certain insecurities. Where did the insecurities come from? Why is it an insecurity? The only way, in my opinion, to understand that is to have just a clean, unbiased analysis of the person, just to see what happened, just for what it is, right? And then from there, you get to the point to start to connect the dots. Okay, this is what happened, but based on X, Y, and Z, it could have caused you to feel this way about yourself,
Mhm.
or this could have caused you to have this reaction about certain things in your life. And you start to put these connect the dots, right? One by one. It's kind of like building a puzzle. At first, the edges don't seem like they match, but then you put a couple of pieces together, then the third one looks like it'll be a match, right? Then you start to put the pieces together, you get a clearer and clearer picture of the person. It's like, okay, this is why it's been this way, or they react this way, or stuff like that.
Mhm.
So that's the general idea, okay? Step by step, without any sense of judgment or like trying to fix anything. Like, I think it's for me, it's important for the person to just feel safe, um, to just open up, just speak freely and honestly. Honestly is a major component of this.
Mhm.
I think depending on the type of trauma the person has been exposed to, they might get a bit defensive, a bit guarded, right? They might feel a little weary about opening up. So, again, if we want to take it back to the character types, some people became avoiders, right? So, the idea of having a direct conversation about some uncomfortable subjects may trigger their avoidance responses. So they'll start to give you the runaround, they'll start to give you misdirections. And I try to pick up on that quickly because the person just hasn't, that person built the personality around avoiding tough conversations.
They haven't come to the realization yet that that's their pattern.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So they'll do what they do best.
Yeah.
They'll do what they do best. And the people who like to complain, they'll do what they do best. They'll start to complain about everything that went wrong, this person who did what to them, what they missed out on and stuff like that. So throughout this whole exercise, without trying to get confrontational with the person, I'll try my best to kind of stop them, trying to keep them focused, trying to keep them honest. Believe it or not, it's honestly it's hard to maintain in these conversations because over time people forgot how to look at themselves.
Mhm.
People forgot how to be honest with themselves because you know the reality is too harsh and they don't feel like they have the strength to deal with the reality of things, so they've pretty much built a web of lies that they tell themselves that keeps them going.
Right.
So it's hard to break those habits. It's hard to kind of find a way through the webs and really see where the person is hiding. So this is why I was saying like it takes commitment because it takes time, depending on the person, to go through these phases without losing them. Because when it gets so uncomfortable, again, they do what they do best. So the ones that run away will try to run away. The one that, you know, would avoid the subject will do everything they can to distract you, right? The ones that deal with life with through conflicts, they'll give you reasons why they don't want to do it because this is happening and this. So you just have to feel that as you go, find a way to to establish some common ground, some um rules of engagement, I would say,
Mhm.
where it's like, okay, this is what we're doing and we need to stick with it. And it will get uncomfortable, but we just have to get there eventually, right?
When you,
But technically, that's like phase one.
okay,
Okay, that's technically phase one. Phase two, then you have to make almost like a report. It's
mhm,
like taking stock or doing like an inventory of everything that you found along the way, right?
mhm,
So if you look at it, something happened when the person was 6, then something else happened when they were 9, then 12, and something happened in the teenage years. Then they're like, okay, into adulthood, and then it's like first marriage, this happened or whatever. So you kind of have to do an inventory, right? And add it up, right? It's like, okay, if we can add up A, B, and C, then maybe the sum of A, B, and C led to D. Then where does E and F come from? Right? Then we have to get to that point too. It's like, okay, maybe this D would have caused E and F or whatever. So you start to kind of add it up.
mhm,
It's like like the balance sheet, right? Everything has to be accounted for because I truly believe that when you take a person, everything can be accounted for. Everything has its cause, like it's like cause and effect.
mhm,
Whatever the person is and what their experience is, what they're experiencing, it came from somewhere. Or what they're doing today might have caused something tomorrow.
mhm,
There's always and again, this is what I believe. I believe that the balance sheets gets to be zeroed out at some point. If you look closely enough, everything makes sense about a person.
mhm,
It just takes time to scrutinize, all these details about the person. And I guess a part of it is just this intuitive kind of puzzle solving type of skill set. I don't know if I can call it that, where you literally can sit around and put pieces of this analysis together and form a full story and present it to the person. It's like, I think I know how he got here,
mhm.
you know. So then that would be phase two.
Okay.
And then phase three would be where do we go from here?
Mhm,
Because a person can say, thank you for your analysis. I'm okay the way I am. At least now I know.
mhm, uh-huh,
And I'm okay just moving on the way I've been living. And maybe with this newfound awareness, I might be able to figure it out myself. Good.
uh-huh,
At least we did something. Or a person might say, you know what? I need help. I cannot go on like this. Then you start the work, right? You start the healing process. And that comes down to a lot of factors. There's a whole chapter in the book about healing, understanding your triggers, understanding your complex emotions, connecting with your inner self, finding peace within. And this is a process. It's not something that you can just wake up um, and feeling at peace. It's something that you have to practice. A lot of it becomes a practice. It's kind of like when people talk about diets, right? They said diets don't work. Well, yeah, of course it doesn't work because if you do something for 2 weeks and you revert back to your old habits, of course, it's you're not gonna keep having the same benefits of that diet. But if you turn it into a lifestyle, right? You start to exercise as a lifestyle. You start to eat better as a lifestyle. then over the years, you see the transformation. It becomes a lifestyle versus a treatment. So to me, I think people have to commit to this lifestyle change. You have to change the way you look at yourself, the way you think of yourself, the way you present yourself, right? You have to develop self-love, self-appreciation. You have to learn to be brutally and radically honest with yourself. And so it's a lot of different things that the person can do and start doing, and over time you start to see the change in your energy level and how you go about life.
Because and you have to do that because the thing that happened or the things that happened in the past created a relationship between you and your environment. It
Mm-hmm.
like created a dynamic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you realize where that came from,
Mm-hmm.
doing that analysis, and now you make the decision, okay, I'm now that I understand that I'm fine, or now that I understand that I need help, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
now I need to develop a new relationship with things. And what you're
Yes.
talking about is with, all these things that you just listed off, this this is it's not a 2 week thing, it's a lifestyle change because
Yes.
over time it's like we're starting a new relationship now with these
Yes.
different things that you used to have a certain type of relationship with, but now that relationship is changing, and it changes only with intentionality by intentionally with the way you're thinking about it, the way you're looking
Mm-hmm.
at it,
Mm-hmm.
and this newfound understanding, you're interacting with it differently to create a new relationship with these things.
Yep. Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
have you ever,
Exactly. You
uh-huh,
have to reinvent your relationship with yourself. You have to redefine your relationship with yourself.
with yourself,
So,
with people around you, and with the world?
yes,
You know,
yes, exactly.
yeah.
So it's a big project, this self thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big project. So I encourage people to look at it that way. This is not a quick fix. You can go and get information. You can go and get inspired in a day. You can go and be uh, handed tools in a day. But you cannot fix yourself in a day. You cannot fix yourself in a couple of days or a couple of weeks. And in my, in my understanding of these things, you can't, even if you take 2 months to work on yourself, you can't just abandon your newfound, knowledge and understanding and go back to how things were and expect to feel the way that you want to feel.
Right.
You have to maintain it. So it's not just committing to the work, you have to commit to yourself. You have to commit to your new self, your newfound relationship with yourself, right? It's kind of like a marriage. If you want to have a long lasting marriage, you don't just take care of your spouse for 3 years and then expect everything to be okay for the rest of your life. You will spend the rest of your life treating your spouse like he's the thing that matters the most to you. So it's the same way. You are your first relationship in life, your most important relationship in life. If you want to have a healthy and fulfilling life, you have to maintain that healthy relationship for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So there's no more excuses. When you know, you know. You cannot go back to pretending not to know. You're just either the person who commits to treating yourself the right way or you're not.